Welcome to Promote Profit Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and I can't believe this is the last episode of the year. So I want to thank you all for staying with us, for sticking on and hanging on throughout the year. This episode is actually a webinar that we did, transforming your book into a lucrative online course. There is an offer at the end, but it takes place in a couple days. So if you're not ready to do this, definitely check in with me, Juliet at superbrandpublishing.com, or go jump on my calendar, chatwithjuliet.com, and discuss with us whether this is right for you and when the next course will be. The best way to do this is to watch this over on YouTube. If you really want to learn, we have slides over there. Our YouTube channel is Super Brand Publishing. And I want to wish all of you a safe and happy holiday, a new year, and I'll see you in 2025. Welcome to turning your book into a lucrative online course. I'm super excited that you're all here today, and especially Gail, because Gail is one of my partners for our coursework with Odom. So this is really exciting that the Waterside people are showing up as well as my own people for this. So welcome. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay, now it doesn't
Juliet.
want to
Hey,
turn.
everybody.
So I just want to jump in. So for authors, revenue is always top of mind. I know this from experience. I'm a 9-time best-selling author, and I actually started my company in 2010 because I saw that there was this big gap out there in what was going on with authors and getting their author platform built. And I had come from traditional publishing and gone on to advertising with Shia Day on $1 billion account. So I really was concerned about the way authors were out there promoting their books. Most of it back in 2000, probably 2008 to 2016, 17 was people on social media begging, buy my book, buy my book. And it just looked so desperate and was disconnected from their business as well. So, it really wasn't the way to present a book. So that's what we specialize in. We do have the publishing company, but we also help authors build their author platform and build that audience and add content to it. And then not only look at your book revenue, which is probably not super high because, royalties are so low, but what can you do with that book that will bring in the revenue that you're looking for around your area of expertise? So on book marketing, we try to get all this together, get a course together, the book out, and then take everything on the road so you can promote everything at once. I would say most of all, we're truth tellers in the industry. A lot of people, don't think that self-published hybrid books are, that they stack up to the traditional books. But my personal opinion is this revolution has given us a lot of really great genres that we never would have thought about before. And I think people are more excited about books than ever because of those niche genres. The other thing that we saw a lot was really unrealistic expectations about how many books people were going to sell. And I'd actually, if you have a minute, go over to readeravatar.com. We have a download that you can go over and take a look at your social media, your email list, what content you're putting out, and sort of ballpark, how many books you can sell off that. And most people will see when they do that they don't have the kind of platform they thought they needed to sell books, products, and services. So you can always work on it and keep building, and you always should. But if you go over to readeravatar.com, you can download that worksheet. Why you need courses. So limited book sales are limited. They're limited in the scope. Most indie authors sell less than 200 copies. So think about that at $1 to $3 a book. You're not going to be on fire and retiring on your book royalties unless you have a really high profile. You're an established author. You're not going to be able to make a living on it. Most people don't. So what we're doing here is using your book as a marketing tool to leverage those high ticket items. So in order to do that, that platform needs to be built. You're building an audience, but you're also building trust with your audience. So if you think about it for a minute, your book that may be priced, from $15 to $40, depending on what it is, that's a pretty low risk item for someone to find out who you are and what you do. And the truth about being an online entrepreneur and having a book is that there are probably a lot of people who do exactly what you do. And whether you get hired or not is going to be a matter of, does the personality resonate? Does the material you put out there resonate? So it is really important to get that lower ticket item out there and then have something to back it up to leverage the higher ticket. So that's what we try to do with our clients a lot is, while that book's getting done, what do you have at the other side that's going to make money? And I would tell you probably 75% of the clients that we bring in don't have that next piece. They're relying on their book revenue, and that's not really a solid plan on there. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about assessing your book's potential, content creation, and marketing around this, because this really is a three-step process if you want to create a course from your book. So let's jump into it. The first is assessing your book's potential. So you've written this book, you may or may not have an audience, but you'll want to look when you're creating a course at, what is my book's relevance in today's market? How can I position my book and my course so that people look at it and say, I need that. That's going to take me to the next level. So that's really what you're looking with your book's potential. And there are a lot of tools that can help you do it. And also, if you're not sure what you want to do, the next step would be evaluating your book structure. How can that book be adapted for a course? Now, I'm going to show you, I have a book here called the Author Success Handbook. This is actually made into 6 different courses, because if I threw that book at you in one big course, you'd probably become overwhelmed. So that's one of the considerations when you're looking at the structure is, am I breaking it down into one course? Is it designed? Have I written it in a way that I can break it down into more than one course? And then the content depth. Wow, say that 5 times fast. I'm gonna have to change that inside of this presentation. Assess the depth of your content for really comprehensive learning. And I'll talk about that in a minute, because it's not as easy as just like, I'm a kinesthetic learner. I have to structure everything in that book so it touches all of the learning modalities. Otherwise, I'm just going to attract kinesthetic learners and frustrated people who don't understand what I'm saying. I hope that made sense. So the first thing I'm going to tell you about this, and you probably already did this with your book, is reassess your audience. I know a lot of you work with book developers who you identify your demographics. You might get a little bit into the psychographics, but really get deep dive and analyze and refine that avatar that you use to write your book. Because when it comes to courses, now people are paying more money, so you have to hit exactly the right audience to get them to part with the funds to do this. So probably you won't have to look as deeply into your demographics because you did that with the book developer. But it does really help you to get into the psychographics, the interest, the values, the motivation, and also identifying which target audience resonates with you, resonates with you. I use a book with my clients, a basic book called Bank, and it at least gives them languaging. It's by Cherie Tree, if you want to look that up. It helps you identify who your people are, the language to use, what they like and what they don't like. And that might be a helper for you as well when it comes to the psychographics, because you want to be able to write that marketing copy so it hits them directly. And that's really where that comes into it. And then a needs analysis. What are the specific things and what are the needs and goals of your audience? And this is where focus groups can be really helpful. We used to do them all the time in advertising, although I will tell you, we used to approach people in a mall and ask them if they'd like to go in a room and back. I don't recommend you do that today because you'll probably get arrested, but you can definitely gather some people online and bring them together and, get some questions and feedback from them that'll be really helpful in putting your course together. So, okay. Now, the next part of this, when you're assessing your book, is understanding learning modalities. And I think I saw I have a school teacher on here or someone who used to teach school. There are three types of learners. And when you're putting your course together, you have to think about how can I take my content and present it in a way that covers all three of these modalities. Because if you don't hit the modality of the way that a particular student learns, you're probably going to lose them. They'll be frustrated and you really want them to finish. So what that might mean is visual learners, you know you're going to have them have those diagrams, charts, visuals ready. Hold on, let me look up here. Can I please put the title and author in chat? Okay, sorry. I don't know who that's for. So the visual learners incorporate diagrams, charts, videos. You want that visual appeal for those people who learn. And those are probably the people that are over on YouTube and Rumble, and they're looking for how-tos. What can I do to better learn this style? Then there are auditory learners. So having audio lectures, podcasts. I don't necessarily do that inside my courses, but I do have discussions that are auditory engagement. So somebody might bring up a question, then we discuss it, and different perspectives are put out there. So that's how those auditory learners learn. And then the kinesthetic learners. These are the people that you need a workbook for. You need hands-on activities. That's how they learn. I'm a kinesthetic learner. So if you were in my office when I learned tech, you'd probably hear a lot of cussing, a lot of throwing things, and a lot of, why can't I do this? But that's how I learn, is that trial and error and figuring it out. And if any of you, I don't know how the age group of the people here right now, but if you remember back when we were all in offices back in the late 80s, early 90s, all of corporate America was sending us to these seminars on how to use Microsoft, how to use Excel, how to use Word. And it always looked so easy when they did it on the screen. And then we got home and tried it, and it wasn't so easy. So you definitely want to have some practical learning there for those people who learn in that way. The next thing you have to, why is this not turning? The next thing you have to look at when you're assessing your book is engagement strategies. So do you have branded slides? This is where it might be really important when you put your book out that it's branded towards your company in some way, because it does get a little tricky when you have a branded book that's branded differently from your company. Also video lectures. So produce content in a way where you can deliver that effectively. Now, here's where I'm going to give you guys a little caveat. Several years ago, I was down in Florida and I was invited to one of those places where they film the box sets of your courses. I would not recommend doing that. You're going to spend $10,000 to $20,000 minimum on that. And if your information updates, it's hard to incorporate that back into a product that's already professionally filmed. And to be honest, people are looking for authenticity and engagement today. So there's no reason why you can't put together something on Zoom that can be changeable. We've done that several times with our courses where YouTube or LinkedIn will update information that we need to go back and incorporate into the how-to on our video lectures and our workbook exercises. And then every single course should have workbook with exercises and also for retention of knowledge. So one of the things that, and I know a lot of the people who work in the spiritual realm or psychology will understand this, there is a pen to brain connection. So any place where you can have people take a pen and write down their thoughts or write down what they need to do, that's going to be an extra learning boost for them. And many, many people are like that. That's why so many people, are really proponents of journaling, because that's the way that you really connect with all of this. The next thing you need to look at with the assessing your book is the structured learning. So are there clear objectives? Does each module have learning goals and lessons around that goal that hit that goal? The other thing is progress tracking. So one of the things that we do really effectively is a lot of times we will put a quiz when you start the course, and a quiz when you finish the course. And the reason we do that is when you start the course, you're obviously taking it because you don't have a lot of knowledge. But if you're in a course or you have a course that maybe is a 6-month program or a year-long program, people forget when they will get to the end of it how much they've actually learned. So having them take that quiz again gives them some confidence that they've learned a lot of things during the course of this. And that's also the time to ask for the course testimonial because they've just established that they learned a lot from you. So it's always good to have some sort of progress tracking throughout the course. And then milestones. How can you create checkpoints to celebrate student achievements throughout the course? So, at the end, we can always put a certificate up, even if it's a yay and it doesn't mean a whole lot. But if there are places in between where you can put short quizzes or, feedback loops or something like that, that helps them as well as you. And the longer your program is, the sooner people lose interest. And I hate to say it that way, but I know that when I talk to people who have year-long programs, they start to see a waiver about month 4, month 5. People are either overwhelmed and dropping out, or they're getting a little bored because of the skill set. So make sure you have those milestones in where you can check in for feedback and say, hey, student, it seems like you're a little overwhelmed here. How can I help you get that through? Because remember, their success is your success. And I mean that in the form of testimonials as well. So it is really helpful as you're evaluating your book. Where can I put those in a really helpful manner for my students and myself? The next phase is content creation. So we've evaluated our book. We have some things in mind. We have some notes about what we want to do. Now we want to jump into how do we create that content. So you've broken down the key concepts and themes. Now we need a course outline. And you can either try to do that on your own, or there are a lot of tools out there that'll help you do that. I actually recommend that you go to the tools because as you remember when you were writing your book, you're the expert and everything you put in that book is important. And when you got to that 200 to 300 word summary on the back of the book, that was really hard because there was so much. The same might be true when you put that book through. So there are a significant number of AI tools that you can use now that will read your book and tell you and create the outline for you. And we use one of those with all of our clients that will actually read that book and start the outline. The other thing is putting interactive elements in. So can you create quizzes? Every session should have an assignment. I will tell you when we do one-on-one coaching and courses, people are like, oh, you're giving me homework? Just like they do in school, especially in junior high, where it's like, teacher gave me homework. But that's the way that people learn. So make sure you have those engagement items in there. Also, discussion prompts that'll enhance engagement. So when you have when you're teaching, you might have discussions as part of your teaching as well, so people can come in and engage with other people. And when you have group programs, this is fantastic because a lot of our group programs, people actually become friends within them and create events together, create different promotional opportunities as well. And then really important to have those multimedia resources. So videos, infographics. A lot of people ask me, where do I get an infographic? If you haven't used Fiverr.com, FIV as in Victor, ERR.com, you draw it out and you can contract somebody over there to brand it, lay it out. So it is a beautiful, beautiful piece to support the learning on there. And again, the audio as well, having those exercises to do that. So all of this will blend together and you have to get creative about how you're going to put your content together in a way that keeps people really engaged. And then this is one thing that people wait till the last minute, but it's important that you know it up front, your hosting options. Right now, we love odom.io. And the reason we like that is because they've made it easy to put the courses up. I only get charged, unlike other platforms, when we actually sell something. And what makes these different from a lot of the other ones is that they also offer opportunities for partnerships. Other people can sell, and they have opportunities for continuing education pieces on there as well. So the reason I'm telling you this is important is if you go over to Odom and you try to get your course put in for continuing education certified, you're going to need to know the parameters of that. I take continuing education for a license I have in California. It's 48 hours. So now you know, am I going to create, X amount of hours that I'm required to have for content? Or am I going to do the entrepreneurial where it'll be a little bit shorter because I have a different audience that isn't forced to be there? That continuing education is also a great piece of recurring revenue if you can get it. And there are lots of universities over there, healthcare providers, corporations that need help with all of that. And many of you know it's hard to get your foot in the corporate door right now to get your courses in or presentations in. You can also go to web integration. So we have both of those. We're over on Odom, but you can go buy courses over on our author traffic school. So that might be where you put them directly into your WordPress site. I would say if you're going to do that, do both, because you're going to have to learn to drive traffic, no matter which hosting option you use. And then there are lots of learning management systems out there. Udemy, can't think off the top of my head, but these are learning management systems that also charge a significant amount of money every year. So you might be spending anywhere from, $600 on Teachable to, I saw one last week that was $4,000 for a year. And you're going to pay that whether you sell anything or not. So that has to be a consideration as well. The one that I saw was 4,000. I saw some of the things on it, and I'm pretty sure they're selling a significant amount. But when you're first starting out, that may not be the best option for you. And then content creation strategies. You have to know who you're speaking to. If I'm going to put together an entrepreneurial course, I'm going to try to keep it the way we position them. We do 4 to 6 week intensives. So people are learning a lot. So those module lengths are 20 to 30 minutes. If you're doing continuing education, then you're going to have to create a bigger platform or something that is a certification. I know Johanna from Odom showed us the other day an energy company where you could apply for a job, but they had all of these courses where you could actually get certifications that would help you get jobs with the company, which I thought was such a smart idea, because then whoever you hire, if they have these certifications, they're on point with what your company culture is, what they're doing, and what you're doing out there. Also, the learning modalities, again, you have to develop a structure for all three. Are there bonuses? So you probably remember like 2016, 17, 18, everybody had a webinar with like, the value is $40,000 today, and we have this bonus and that bonus. I don't suggest you do that, because I think we all found that was really obnoxious. But do you have bonus resources that you can help people additionally? So one of the courses we have a whole bonus that's about the average millionaire has 7 income streams. So how can you take what you're doing and create 7 different income streams to get your income up? So it doesn't have to be like an entirely different course, but it can be little tips and tricks that can help them with their business, their book marketing, or whatever your course is about. And then branding and marketing. How are you going to brand this, message, and market? This is the piece that most people leave out of this. They say, oh, I have a course. Yay. But they don't get out and do the marketing and the messaging. And for me, one of the really powerful strategies we use is power partnerships. So I have a lot of people who sell our courses, promote our courses, and I have to put those materials there for them. But so I still have to have me on point and them on point when I sell. And then the other thing here is course delivery methods. So is this going to be an evergreen course that is access on demand? It's self-paced learning. Is it going to be a group program, which That evergreen is the lowest price point. A group program would be a different, higher price point. So it's cohort based with live sessions and collaborative learning. Now, here's the good thing about that. I just mentioned that we have the 4 to 6 weeks intensive. We actually take those recordings after we do that and we make them into an evergreen course. So it's really easy when I have somebody that has come to me and wants to work with me, but maybe they can't afford that group program right now, or maybe they can't afford one-on-one. I have a resource that I can say, you could get started over here. Here's the link. It's half or a third of what I charge. And then, you can come back and buy some one-on-ones if you get stuck there. So you can always integrate what you're doing here, and then take it back into that evergreen course. And then one-on-one coaching. All of the materials that I have for my group programs and my evergreen programs, I use in my one-on-one programs as well. So one of the things I mentioned, the book that we broke up into 6 courses for people building platforms. They may have social media nailed, but they don't have an email list. They don't have a way to lead capture. So by breaking that up and having these one-on-one courses, I'm able to build assets with my clients as well, so they know how to do that in the future. So hopefully that all made sense to you. And then the other thing you have to decide with content creation is, how am I going to launch all of this? For many people, starting out with an inner circle launch is the way to beta test the information. So an inner circle launch would be me inviting like Gail and I did today. We invited our audience here. We know these people, we know their books, we know what's going on. So we can, and since we've been working with them, we feel comfortable saying, hey, if I give you this course at a reduced rate, will you show up and will you give me feedback on it? And honest feedback, because you don't want someone to come in and blow smoke up your behind about, oh, it was fabulous. And you can see they never opened the modules. So an inner circle launch for a lot of people might be the way to get started. Then comes a tribal launch. So once you've established that this is something that'll sell, this is something people are very interested in, then you go out with your email marketing, your social media, and then move on from there to a joint venture launch. A joint venture launch is collaboration with partners. So they're bringing their audience to the deal. I personally prefer power partnerships, trusted people that I work with on a regular basis. I used to work for the joint venture Inner Circle, and I see a lot of people over there that make really big promises and they don't pay their partners. And that really creates a problem too. So if you're going to do that joint venture launch, make sure that your integrity and your partners get paid as promised when promised, because that's probably the biggest downfall. That's why I prefer the power partnership methodology, because my people know they're going to get paid and they're going to get paid the next day. So, that part, if you're going to do it, be in integrity with it. Marketing and promo. So this is part 3, and this is the most difficult part of all of this, because if you haven't engaged in marketing a course or marketing your book with funnels in the past, you're going to have to dive in on a really deep scale this time with it. So social media, utilizing your platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, to reach those potential students. One of the important things here is evaluating your social media. Are you in the right place for your audience? Back in 2018, we took on a client who had a course called A Solo to CEO, and she insisted that she was going to promote this on Facebook. Now, I bet all of you are kind of looking at that going, oh, she should have been doing that on LinkedIn, where the solopreneurs and the CEOs are. And that's what happened. It was not successful. Once we got it over on LinkedIn, very successful, but it took a lot of work to get her away from that. So it's very important for you to think about, there are platforms that you are comfortable on, but if they're not the same platforms that your clients, your potential clients are on, you need to go get comfortable with that platform. And that might take a little bit, because every time we try something new, it's painful. I'm the kinesthetic learner. I can tell you it's painful. Email marketing. So this is where your email list becomes very important. So create some engaging newsletters. So you need content that goes out once a week. So it's not just oh, hey, I haven't sent you anything in the last 6 months, but I'd like you to buy something from me. That never goes over well. So since content is your trust builder, make sure that all along while you're developing, you've been sending out a content email every week. We send out our podcast. We also have a newsletter over on LinkedIn. And if you're one of the people who your audience is on LinkedIn, you should have that newsletter because we have as many people in our email marketing newsletter as we have over on our LinkedIn newsletter, which means our audience is essentially doubled with people who didn't want to do an opt-in, but they do show up for our events because they've gotten the notifications over on LinkedIn. So make sure you've got all that covered, not only with the platform you're on, but the email list as well. And then landing pages. So in order to promote your course, you're going to have to do something like I'm doing here today, a webinar, tell people why they need it or show people. That's probably the better. Show versus tell is always hard in the publishing world, but show people why they actually need this course or they need your book. So compelling landing pages, branded, understanding how to do that and drive traffic. We've set up, I've seen people with opt-ins in the past, and they'll tell me, oh, I have an opt-in. Well, how many people have opted in? Well, don't they just find it? You have to learn how to drive that traffic to be able to do it. And that is really the hardest part of this and why we encourage you to get that author platform built, because it's hit and miss, and you're going to have to learn to drive that traffic and do that before your book is out so you can sell the book and sell the course as well. Also, promotional development. You're going to need to create some assets for this. So materials that drive traffic and interest. Is it an ebook? Is it a video series? Is it something, there are a lot of things out there. There are graphics, there are workbooks, quizzes. There are all sorts of things you can do to drive traffic during the asset creation period. Webinars and free gifts. This is probably the one thing I see out there that authors get a little lazy. I don't want to point fingers, but y'all get a little lazy about this. You'll have an old lead magnet that you used before, and you'll say, okay, I'm going to drive traffic to this webinar to drive traffic to my book and the course. And I'm going to give that old lead magnet as a free gift, but it doesn't really fit in alignment with my webinar. It doesn't really fit in alignment with my course. So you have to make sure when you put those free gifts together that they're actually in alignment with what you're merchandising out there to sell. And I hope that made sense to everybody. And then another thing I see a lot is you put together these landing pages, but then there's no drip campaign behind it. The drip campaign is where you nurture and check in with people. How are they doing with that? That free gift that you just gave them. The reminders about the webinar, tips leading up to the webinar. Those are active creations that show people that you're not just, hey, come to my webinar and give me some money, that you're actually one of those providers that cares about. I call it the sellers versus nurturers. That you're actually not just somebody who sells, you're a nurturer and will actually help them. So that drip campaign is there to nurture them into paying customers when you're doing that. High ticket sales techniques. Now, I'm going to be really transparent about you. You've all heard these people on the internet who say, oh, I have this cash machine and I make money while I sleep. That's not really the way it works. I always tell people that come to me with that, hey, the Loch Ness Monster has the secret to this in the locket around his neck. Go find him, because you do not sell with a click. What you're going to be selling is with personal interactions. And that's where all this nurturing, the funnels, the webinars, leading people to those bigger ticket items is going to come into place. So with that, you're going to need to focus on individual needs. You're going to actually need to talk to people. And I know for the generation of most of the people on this call, it's a no-brainer. For the younger generation, that's really hard because they're used to texting and clicking. So look at your age group and your demographics and decide how you're going to initiate those personal interactions. One of the things that I would recommend that we do very well and it works for us is we don't sell in drip campaigns. We don't sell when we do our monthly trainings either. We actually have a monthly training. It's informational. People show up. It's free trust building. And that's where we start talking to people. We don't do it as a webinar. We do it like we did today as a meeting where you guys have the opportunity to talk and connect and tell me about what's going on. Can we help? Can we not help? So you really have to look at where can I get those personal interactions going. You used to see downloads or quizzes where it was straight to answer these questions and then here's my link to make an appointment. That's not the way to build a relationship. I like to think of that as somebody asking me to go to dinner and we're sitting at dinner. I've known you 30 minutes and you asked me to marry me. Asked me to marry you. I'm probably going to be looking like MacGyver for the nearest ladies' room, get out my little MacGyver kit to disengage the lock on the emergency while I'm ordering the Uber. It feels slimy. So keep that in mind when you're doing the personal interactions. You're building trust. You're not selling. The trust building will lead to putting together the sale. And then value-based selling. Let everybody, what are the long-term benefits of what you're doing? What is the transformation that this course is going to help them with? This is really easy for a lot of people, for people who are in the spiritual realm or even sometimes in the psychology realm. A little bit harder because you have to have a solid transformation that they can grasp. You can't just, there's a difference between saying you'll feel better and you'll lose 30 pounds. When you lose 30 pounds, you can see the transformation. If you feel better, that's very subjective. So try to keep them things that people will recognize that is going to be the transformation that they can resonate with and understand. And then relationship building. I can't tell you enough how much trust you have to foster and credibility. And that's where the content, if you've been feeding these people good content all along, you're actually saying without screaming, I'm an expert. This is what I recommend, without saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. You're building that trust as you go along. And like I said, a lot of different people probably do what you do. People are going to buy a course or something from you because they like your personality. They like your values, the way that you do things. Really resonates with them. So that's why you need to build that trust instead of just going right in and trying to sell. So I invite you today to think about your current book. How much revenue could you add to your business from a course? Would you put together a group course? What would that look like? And then start expanding your reach, connect with a wider audience and make a lasting impact. I'm going to tell you guys something that I have such a problem with my clients with. And I love that we've got a publicist on here because I think she'll probably resonate with this. We will send our people out with a book and they'll tell us, because media is so divided now, I don't want to be on XYZ. I want to be on ABC. And we'll look at them and we'll say, you are literally leaving out half of the audience that's out there. Why are you doing that? And it's really hard to get that across that you're selling something, you're an expert, you have to do it across all lines and not get really particular. So when you think about widening that audience, widen it everywhere, as within your niche, of course, but don't let other things get in the way. And then expand your intellectual property footprint. That's really what this is all about. You're an expert, you've written an amazing book. Now go out and not just tell the world about the book, but show them how they can implement these things in their own lives. So you're wanting to enrich your reader's experience. So think about your book. Can you build a community around your book? My friend Shannon Procees, she has something called Media Magic, a book called Media Magic. She has a whole community around that she's built. She has 3 paid tiers that come in and they get fabulous information all the time. Is there a way you can do that? Is your expertise value driven? I have found out the reason I hammer trust so much is I have been a part of those programs where I've been sold by somebody who is really good at sales, but when I get into their program, it's flat. There's not a lot of value there. So make sure that you can recreate that book into a level of teaching that is value driven. And then more bookings is more exposure. So add the book and the course together. Both of all of that credibility goes upwards. I don't know, I can't see the whole spectrum who's on the call, but Dorothy Beasley, one of our clients, she has a group program about her book the book is part of it, but she also has workbooks. She also has a lot of other discussion points as part of her group program. So how can you do that as well, where you can bring the book in as part of your curriculum? So I want to invite you guys to join us in January. We have a 4-week, one of our intensives. I just mentioned that we do intensives. We don't do like year-long programs. What we're going to be doing, it's a 4-week program, and we will have group sessions every week. We're going to be streamlining the assessment. So we'll show you which programs we use to assess and outline and refine those outlines, and then also get into the best practices. So this is where, you're going to do your work and say, am I doing a continuing education? Am I doing an entrepreneurial program? I cannot stress the differences enough. Someone back in 2020 asked me to look at their course. He had a basic entrepreneurial course for sales. Imagine jumping into this program and seeing 35 modules over an hour a piece. I literally looked at this thing and said, oh my gosh, I would never finish this. I feel overwhelmed just looking at this. So the best practices will really get into what is your audience doing and how can we do this in a way that will keep them engaged. And then also getting deep into the course funnels. How do you sell more products? How do you launch successfully? So we're going to be doing this in January. It's 4 group sessions, so 1 a week, and then 4 one-on-one sessions. So since all of you have a different way that you're doing a different book, your business is probably at a different stage. In addition to those group trainings, we're going to be doing one-on-one, so you get personalized help with your book, turning it into a course. So taking a good look at who is that audience, what do you already have out there, and how can we form this book in a way that gets you out there and really doing this. The course is $14.97 for the month. And I have 2 ways to register here, and I have the wrong one on here. I will have to get you all, send you out in the email. This is what I was afraid of here. Let me pull the other one up here, because Gail's people are going to go purchase at one place, and my people are going to another place. So I apologize for that. Let me get up the right slide here. There we go. All right. So can you guys see this new slide, or do I need to reformat it? Here, let me do this.
That looks good.
Okay. So if you're interested, Gail's people are going to go to this Odom Cloud/program details. You'll probably have to take a screenshot of that if you're Waterside people. You're going to go over there and register. My people, who are there, are a bunch of them on here. You're going to go to authorcoursecreation.com. And I would love to have you guys as part of the program and really kick this off and make your goal for 2025 additional revenue for your book.